Shrimad Bhagavad Gita Chapter 6 Yoga of Self-Control or Dhyanyoga. Lord Almighty said, the person who without relying on the fruit of his labor carries out his duty should be considered a yogi, and he should be called a sannyasi. Just by relinquishing the duty, one does not become a yogi or a sannyasi. Arjuna, what is known as sannyas, you can also consider it yoga, because anyone who cannot get rid of his sankalps cannot become a yogi. The person who wants to practice and become a yogi should carry out his duty without attachment to the results. And for a yogi, his ability to give up making any sankalp is his greatest advantage. When a person neither gets attached to his deeds nor to the worldly pleasures of the senses, when he breeds no desire, he is known as Yoga Rood. It is desirable that a person, being always available to strive to achieve salvation, he should never indulge and get into decadence. Man is in fact his own enemy. Likewise, he can also be his own friend. The human being who has conquered his body, including the senses and the mind, is his own friend. But the person who has not conquered the body, senses and mind is his own enemy. In pleasure or in pain, in summer or in winter, in respect or disrespect, the person whose mind bears no agitation, no attachment, is a person whose Atma has attained self-realized freedom. And his mind is always creatively engaged in the Almighty. His wisdom teaches him that nothing is really important except the Almighty. The person whose spirit is replaced with wisdom and science, whose intentions are beyond any blemishes, who has thoroughly conquered his senses, and for whom dust, stone, and gold are all alike, it is said that such a yogi is complete, or in other words, he has realized God. He is the greatest among human beings. He is unselfish and interested in good of everyone. He does not distinguish between friend and foe. He treats alike the virtuous and the sinners. The person who keeps control over his body, including his senses and his mind, he who does not live in vain hope and is free from greed, is a yogi. He should often seek a solitary place and meditate continuously with his devoted mind about the marvels of the Almighty. He should select a sacred place and spread on it kushasan, deer skin, and fabrics. The place should be neither very high nor low, and it should be stable. He should straight and control completely the action of his senses, keeping his mind stable. He should practice yoga to achieve purity of mind. With a straight posture, he should keep his upper body, neck, head relaxed and motionless, and fix his gaze on the front tip of his nose without looking into any other direction. Observing brahmacharya, a religious student who observes celibacy, free from any fear, the yogi with a mind full of peace that is alert, should meditate on my manifestations. The yogi with a fully controlled mind, constantly making efforts with his soul to be completely absorbed in my manifestations, achieves the real peace which resides only in me, the Almighty. Arjun, this yoga cannot be realized by anyone who eats too much or too little, nor by one who sleeps excessively or one who does not sleep at all. The yoga which eradicates unhappiness altogether can be achieved only by someone who eats what is necessary and sleeps or keeps awake only when required by his body. He carries out his actions as his duty demands. When the mind, which is in complete control, stabilizes in the meditation of the Almighty, when there remains no animal desire to enjoy worldly objects, it is said that is the status of a person who becomes a yogi and is unaffected by all worldly affairs. Just as in a place where there is an oil lamp that does not flicker at all, the same simile applies to a yogi engaged in meditation about the Almighty. Purified by the practice of yoga and having achieved the state where the mind becomes stable in Lord's manifestations, the practitioner perceives the presence of Almighty and remains satisfied in his devotion. Beyond the bounds of senses, realized only by potent intelligence, unended joy becomes a part of the yogi who makes his mind stable in the attributes of the Almighty. Thus spoke Lord Krishna.